Good evening, and welcome to the discussion of the upcoming Advanced Fighting Fantasy rule set for the Foundry Virtual Tabletop. This was originally intended to be a live stream, but I had a few technical issues, so we decided to just record it and post it anyway. So why are we having a Foundry rule set? Well, I think virtual tabletops, certainly during the pandemic, really took off. And it became almost the norm of how people play games. And although a lot of people have gone back to in person, virtual tabletops are becoming increasingly popular. And Foundry is one of those. So we do have a Fantasy Grounds rule set, and that's not quite working as we would hope due to various reasons. So Arion Games then decided to partner with HodPublishing, who specialize in Foundry rule sets, Foundry adaptations, and in fact were the ones who put together the Troika rule set, which obviously is an Advanced Fighting Fantasy derivative. And so this is going to be an upcoming project for the spring, and hopefully this is going to bring a whole new generation of people to Advanced Fighting Fantasy and give existing fans that further opportunity. So, HodPublishing. Who is HodPublishing?
Hello. So, HodPublishing is a small company. I'm Cussa. I'm basically the head of development and games there. And we are kind of a small company that together we have something like 8 years of experience because of our agents kind of thing. And what happened is that, yeah, we started to work doing these conversions to Foundry VTT. And that worked quite well. We are kind of up for a year. Right now, we have more than 37 products on our store with more to come. As I said, we have 4 systems developed by us, including Troika. Troika, just to be very clear, was developed by someone else. We take maintenance and we improve that and create all the books from the Troika system into that. So yeah, quite a lot of things there.
Yeah, and I think that experience and team is really useful because firstly, it means that because that's your dedicated role, it means that not only can you sort of update and deal with any problems that crop up, it also means that you're always going to be looking for new books to convert. And, you know, as everyone is aware, we are being quite prolific, certainly with Advanced Fighting Fantasy at the moment. And there are new books coming out left, right, and center. And I think, you know, obviously fans start clamoring for those books immediately. And if you've got a team, it means you can approach that. So I have used Foundry a bit. I really like the flexibility of it and so on, and the way you can add in sort of additional modules for dice and all sorts of other things. So what are your plans for the Advanced Fighting Fantasy rule set?
So basically, first of all, it's important to say that we are creating the system from the scratch. Foundry is releasing a new version probably on the next weeks or months. That is the version 13. We'll be targeting already this newest version, so basically can have all the new features that they are providing there. And basically, first of all, the system will have what everybody wants. That is the character sheet.
Yeah.
The most automations that we can include there, they will have. You know, at least the most basic things. For sure, they'll have like rolling for attack, loading for armor, rolling for skill, and all these kind of operations that are the normal core of the system. They will be there. But we want to go a little bit more. But the character sheet, I think that is normally what everybody's looking. We'll be creating character sheets, of course, for the enemies. So they have a simplified version of the character sheet, but they still have some automations to do the rolls for attacks, damage, and all these kind of things. We will be kind of evaluating what would be the best way to include all the items, weapons, magic, in the case of spells, and all these kind of things in the system. So basically, the idea is to make that this most integrated as possible for people to just go there, kind of, even if they don't know a lot of the system, to kind of let that be kind of most intuitive as possible. So they click a button, there is a dice, they click on that dice. Oh, here I roll the dice. That makes sense, and go to the thing. So yeah.
And I think that's obviously important for something like Advanced Final Fantasy, because you get a lot of new gamers coming to Advanced Final Fantasy from the game books, and from the simplicity of the system. And the easier it is to pick up, the easier it is to get going. You don't want to read through a 47-page manual in order to work out how to roll for skill or test your luck or something like that, because that obviously rather invalidates what AFF is about. So obviously that creates the rule set, which is the framework that allows you to play AFF. But that framework doesn't include any of the things like the special skills and the spells themselves and the monsters and things, does it?
Yeah. So basically what we'll be doing is similar to what most companies are doing nowadays, is that we have this system. The system is available for free to everybody. So you don't have to pay anything. There is no paywall for you to go there, install the system inside Foundry, and then you start to play right away. So you just create your character sheet and you start to roll the things. The point is that the things that are related to that, like the weapon. So you need a weapon for your character. That weapon will not be created on the system per default. So what will happen is that we are kind of taking the core book of the AFF and converting that to a premium model. So basically, you kind of get that model and it will have everything that the core model has. So all the skills, all the spells, all the weapons, all the monsters. So it not streamlines only the player perspective, but even the GM, as basically they don't need to create enemies, don't need to create the weapons for the players, they don't need to do anything like that. They just kind of give the permission to the players, and they can start to drag the things to their character sheet, and the character sheet is done.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the things I've found. I've been using virtual tabletops for gaming for 20 years or so, and in some respects, and with certain game systems, I've actually found it much easier than playing on the tabletop, because you get a new weapon, and some games, Rollmaster, for example, you have very complex weapon tables, and being able to drag a weapon to your character and then roll, and it works it out from the table, that is much easier than on the tabletop finding the appropriate big printed table and all the rest of it.
Copy that to your character sheet.
Absolutely. And it's ease of use, and you want to be able to say, right, you've found a double-headed Cullian Morningstar, and the player goes, well, what's the damage track for that? And you say, well, I've just unlocked it, drag it in. And you can drag it onto your character sheet, and you can look at it and go, oh, that's nice, I like that. And it's got the modifier to attack in there, and so on and so forth, which again, this speeds things up, because if a weapon has a -1 modifier, you can bet your life that players will forget to apply that 8 times out of 10, depending on the player. And so if it's in there, it adds it for you, and you don't have to think about that. And if you've got strong arm talent, it will apply and add +1 to your damage roll, and you don't have to think about that. Which, again, for new players, I know that in AFF you've only got 1 talent. That's not a lot to do, but you've still got to remember these things. So things like combat maneuvers. So,
and if you are talking about the new players, of course that they will forget, because they are not used to that. So
absolutely. Well, I mean, I still forget sometimes to apply certain modifiers. I wrote the game. And so if I can forget, having written it and played it for 15 years, everyone can forget. Everyone is allowed to forget, because I've set that precedent. So obviously, so the first modules then are going to be the core rule book and Out of the Pit, to give that monster, that good monster bestiary to get going. So when we do the Kickstarter, those are they going to be part of the initial funding goal?
Yeah. So basically what happens is that we put that, we think that giving something to people that are founding the project is very important. So what I did is that the base goal is composed by, they start, we have 2 models available. It will be the core rule books and the Out of Pit. So basically, the first thing that I think that is important to say is that they will be totally integrated on this new system. So this system does not exist. If you try to search right now, you'll not find it on Foundry. But the idea of this Kickstarter is exactly to funding the project, the system creation, and at the start, these 2 models. the core rulebook, and the out of pit. But we'll not stop there. That's for sure. We want to kind of get other books there as soon as possible so people can enjoy even more the AFF.
Yeah, excellent. So there are extra stretch goals, maybe.
Yes.
If
So one important thing to say is that, so our idea is that stretch goals will be kind of two types. They are kind of improving on the system functionality. So basically, as much funding we are getting, we are kind of doing more automations inside the system. And as we are getting even higher values, we will kind of unlock other models that are for the other books, which means that we can get kind of the books with a discounted price, because that will be one of the key things on the Kickstarter, is that all the, and this is something that we are, business speaking is kind of crazy, is that we will have a unique value for all the models. Doesn't matter if later on they will be higher price because of their content. All the models will be the same price on the Kickstarter, and they will be discounted. So it's kind of a huge deal.
Yeah, well, I think it is, because I've run 19, 20 crowdfunding campaigns, and one of the questions I often get asked is, why would I back it now if it's going to be commercially available a bit later? But obviously, firstly, you're helping make it, which of course is the original concept of Kickstarter to begin with. But also, if you're getting these at a chunky discount, and especially if you then hit the stretch goals, because if we hit 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 stretch goals and we make another 3 books available, 3 modules available, potentially you can get 5 modules probably for the price of sort of 3.5 or something like that eventually,
Yes.
or whatever it might be. And it also means that when these fund, you're getting them automatically. You're not having to keep an eye out and say, oh, I wonder if when that's going to be released, because when it is released, you get the code, you get it added to your account, whatever, and it suddenly appears there. You've got it, off you go and use it. And I think that, because the way I've always run Arion Games is, yes, it is a business, because life is business, but on the other hand, it's important to make sure you look after your customers, because the customers are what make doing this worthwhile. I go to conventions and people say it's brilliant, and I think I talked to a lot of people at a recent convention. They said, oh, Foundry, fantastic, love that, really looking forward to an AFF rule set. And so if we can give people good value and we make this happen, then I think it can only be good for everyone.
Yep. There is one interesting thing we should not talk about values here, but what I can say is that the models will be discounted at 20% during the Kickstarter. And it's important to say that we'll have early bird pledges that will give you 30% discount. And I'll say something here. It's crazy. If we got to the stretch goals that open the new models during this early bird period, the new pledges, the new add-ons will be on the value of that 30% discount. So the idea is exactly to try to bring people to say, okay, tell everybody, because now is the time to get that.
Yeah, absolutely. And the thing is that they by pledging early, they not only get a better discount themselves, but they get a better discount on the later modules if they can push it forward.
Yes, exactly.
And I think that's really good. So when are we starting the Kickstarter?
So we start that on 1st of April, and that's not a joke, just to be very clear.
Yeah.
We start on 1st of April.
Yeah.
I don't know exactly what time, but 1st of April will be live on Kickstarter.
Yes. Hopefully, because I have to press the go live button, probably something like 7 p.m. Just so that when it finishes, people can have their tea on that final day and they've still got a chance to pledge. That's been one of the things I've done for many years now. So we'll press live 7 p.m. on 1st of April, and we'll finish 7 p.m. Last day of April.
7 p.m. just to say GMT, so depends on where you are on the world.
Absolutely, yeah. So it will be 7 p.m. GMT. Obviously, please do leave comments if you want more information. Please get in touch through all the normal channels with Arion Games, social media, etc. About this. But we're really looking forward to this, and I think it's going to be fantastic. And I personally, I can't wait to start playing. And I know I've mentioned this to my group, and they're really keen to start doing a proper recorded adventure session again using the system. So no pressure here, but my group are going to be pressuring me and saying, when's it done? When's it finished? When is it available? And I'm going to be pressuring you.
Yeah, just to say, I think that it's quite interesting what you're saying. Just to remember people. So there is a lot of Kickstarters that we know that the companies don't need the Kickstarter to be doing that. In this case, it's a little bit different. So we need the Kickstarter to be funded so we can create the system and create the models and at least have this start for these, this project, let me say this way, to have to bring AFF to Foundry. So if you like Foundry, if you like to play AFF in general, and you want to have the opportunity to play that with people that are not sitting on the same table, please share with people, tell about that, so we can get to that funding goal.
Absolutely. And I will put a link to the Kickstarter preview page in the description underneath, so that we've got that.
Perfect. And just to mention, if you want to see, because you maybe never saw me, you never heard about HodPublishing, I'll ask Graham to put here a link to our source so you can link, the models that we already released and check, for example, their screenshots so we can have an idea about what are the quality that we are targeting for the things that we are doing.
Yep, do that, no problem. So thank you, Cussa, and I will keep everyone informed, and thank you for watching. Thank you for backing the Kickstarter.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks.